Hey everybody, I'm Ryan. Today, we're going to talk about the old god SHAARJ in World of Warcraft lore. If you want to learn more about anything else that I talk about in this video, links to those videos if I've done them are in the description. From the beginning, the primordial force of the Void has been trying to consume and twist reality into a realm of darkness. Entities form from the Void, which work to this end, the Void Lords. They watched the Titans and envied their power, and concluded, in order to twist the universe into a realm of darkness, they needed to corrupt one of the Titans. Through tremendous effort, the Void Lords began seeping into the physical universe. Their goal was to infect a Titan before it had awakened, also known as World Souls. Some worlds in the universe contained sleeping Titans, but the Void Lords didn't know which ones. So they pooled their power together to create dark creatures and thrust them into the universe in random directions, hoping some would land on a world with a world soul. They would corrupt worlds they landed on, whether they had a Titan in them or not. During Azeroth's primordial era, while elementals still controlled the world, old gods plummeted down from the sky. They slammed into the surface and embedded themselves across the world. They were mountains of black flesh, tentacles, and eyes. They worked to spread their corruption through the world, digging toward the heart of Azeroth, its world soul. The greatest and strongest old god on Azeroth was SHAARJ, who landed near the center of Azeroth's single continent. They created a civilization here that ended up controlling much of Azeroth, the Black Empire. A huge fortress was built around SHAARJ by the old god's minions, the Naraki and the Aqir. SHAARJ was also known as the Seven-Headed One, who would inhale courage and breathe fear. The elemental lords that controlled Azeroth were furious, and for the first time ever, banded together against the old gods. Even with their amazing power, they could not bring down the Black Empire, because no matter how many of the Void servants that died, more would spawn from the old gods' flesh. By the end of the war, the old gods had enslaved the elemental lords, and the Black Empire, now unopposed, spread across Azeroth, making it a place of darkness and suffering. The other old gods, being weaker than SHAARJ, would be forced to only claim land that SHAARJ had not yet claimed. When Aggramar of the Titans found Azeroth and reported to the Pantheon, they were horrified. They were afraid of harming Azeroth further by intervening themselves, so they created the Titan Forged, which are stone and metal beings. Some of these Titan Forged were given the likeness and powers of the Titans themselves. They were the Keepers. The Titan Forged and the Keepers made war on the old gods and the Black Empire. The Keepers and the Titan Forged won victory after victory, and eventually set their sights on the heart of the Black Empire, the Temple City, built around the huge SHAARJ. They were able to fight their way through and breach the city, but SHAARJ was more powerful than they had expected. The old god poisoned the thoughts of the Keepers and the Titan Forged, expanding their fears and breaking their minds. The Pantheon, for the first time, thought that they were going to lose. They decided it was now worth the risk to take direct action. The Titan Aman'Thul reached down and ripped SHAARJ's body from Azeroth, killing SHAARJ. However, SHAARJ's tendrils were deeper into Azeroth than the Titans thought. Accidentally, where he ripped SHAARJ from the world, there was a giant wound in Azeroth's surface, and the arcane lifeblood of Azeroth was leaking out. Terrified of doing this to the other old gods, the Titan Forged doubled down on their efforts to not need the Titans' intervention. Because of this, they ended up defeating the Black Empire and imprisoning Cthulhu, Yogg-Saron, and N'Zoth. The wound that was left was patched up by the Keepers with magical wards, until all that was left was a giant lake. This magical lake, infused with the lifeblood of Azeroth, would become known as the Well of Eternity. While the Keeper Ra was traveling south, he had found pieces of SHAARJ had fallen back down to Azeroth when it was ripped from the world. Where the pieces fell the land was infused with the void. One intact piece Ra found was its heart. Ra felt it would be valuable to keep the heart, so they could use it to study the nature of the void and the old gods. He and his Mogu followers would keep it in the vault of SHAARJ. The Mogu were charged with guarding it and the surrounding land. The pieces of SHAARJ on the landscape slowly evolved some of the Aqir into Mantid. They were attracted to the heart of SHAARJ in the vault underneath the Vale of Eternal Blossoms. They would go on to establish the huge colony of Manti'vess here. SHAARJ's essence seeping into the earth would amplify negative emotions and give rise to spirits known as Sha, physical manifestations of negative emotions. The Pandaren here would focus on ridding themselves of negative emotions, so they would negate the old god's influence. It would give rise to 7 Sha: the Sha of Anger, Hatred, Violence, Fear, Doubt, Despair, and Pride. When Garrosh Hellscream was invading Pandaria, he had an insatiable thirst for power. He heard of the heart of SHAARJ in a vault beneath the Vale of Eternal Blossoms. He wished to use it as a tool of war. He had goblins excavate the vault. There, Garrosh found a chest bound in chains that contained the heart. He was confronted by Teran Zhu when he brought the heart to reactivate him in the pools in the Vale of Eternal Blossoms, and Garrosh defeats Teran Zhu. He then uses the pools there to restore the heart of SHAARJ. Fortunately, this did not lead to the old god being resurrected. When Garrosh awakened to the heart of SHAARJ, his arrogance made dark energy coalesce into the Sha of Pride, which formed within the vault of SHAARJ. Garrosh would go on to use the power contained within the heart of SHAARJ to infuse some of his followers and himself with powers of the old gods. One of his followers, who received these powers, was Malkorok, who was one of Garrosh's most loyal and trusted lieutenants the whole Pandaren campaign. In addition, the Mantid Klaxxi Paragons followed the whisperings of the heart of SHAARJ and followed the old god to Orgrimmar's Underhold, Garrosh's seat of power. Horde rebels and the Alliance would go on to defeat Orc loyalists, and the old god empowered Garrosh to stop his reign of terror. SHAARJ's heart would be drained, totally ending SHAARJ's influence on the world. His fading breath would remain on the floor of the Underhold before it totally faded from existence. So hope you enjoyed the video. Please be sure to check me out on other social medias, on Twitter, on Twitch, join the community on Discord, and all the other stuff. Thank you so much for watching. If you find the heart of an old god, try not to use it to become a master race. Just like, don't do that.